Hey everybody, today I am in a really small town on the very far north side of Indianapolis. In fact, it's north of Noblesville and along Morse Reservoir. It's Cicero, Indiana, and it's considered officially a suburb of Indianapolis, but it's pretty far north, so it's kind of a stretch to really have it as a suburb. But in this video, we're gonna talk about Cicero a little bit and just kind of see what it's like to be here and what it looks like in general. So stay tuned. Hey everybody, I'm Jason Compton with the Compton Home Group and welcome back to the channel. If it's your first time here and you want to know everything there is to know about places like this, Cicero, Indiana, or Indianapolis, or any of the surrounding metro, then make sure you hit that subscribe button, tap the little bell so you're notified every time we do a new video, each and every week. And we get reach outs, emails, calls, and texts from people all over the country and all over the Indy metro, looking for information about places like Cicero or nearby Noblesville or Indianapolis, and they need help with their move. So if you are in the same boat and you need help with your move within Indianapolis or the surrounding metro, or to Indy and the surrounding metro, then make sure you reach out, because we absolutely love it when people do, and we've got your back whenever you're making that move. So today, as I said, we are in Cicero, Indiana, which again is considered a suburb of Indianapolis, but it's kind of a stretch with how far north it is. And it is small, but of course it's a subjective term, and some people might think a town of 1,000 is really small, and some people might think it needs to be smaller than that. So Cicero is not quite that small. There's a little over 4,000 people here, so when you compare it to some of the other suburbs around Indianapolis like Carmel or Fishers or Noblesville or even Zionsville, which isn't certainly one of the biggest suburbs, you know, a little over 4,000 people, that makes Cicero fairly small. And actually the growth here in Cicero is not all that dramatic. It's been close to the same size for decades. Around 1990, there might have been a little over 3,000 people here, and you know, here we are in 2020 when this video is being made, and we're just a little over 4,000. So the people in Cicero absolutely love that, because Cicero is, for the most part, a pretty quiet community. And it's not exactly super close to Indianapolis. Like I said, it's pretty far north. It's north of Noblesville. So if you were to live in Cicero, you've got some small shops and small stores, things like that. But to get to your big box stores or big grocery stores, you're gonna have to travel a little bit. I mean, it's nearby, but we're talking, you know, you're gonna have to drive 20 minutes or so at least to get to a Home Depot or a really large grocery store of some kind, or a Walmart, any place that you might actually shop. Cicero doesn't really have that stuff, and the people that live here, they're quite all right with that. So if you were to live in Cicero, you're gonna have to be okay with that too. But even though it's small, it's been popular for a really long time for people for different reasons. Me personally, it's actually one of my favorite places in the Indianapolis metro for several reasons. One is because it is fairly small and it's kind of quaint, it's quiet, and things move a little slower here, but also it's along Morse Reservoir. So it's a place that people, of course, live year-round. I know several people that live in Cicero, and they absolutely love living here because of all of it, just everything that it has to offer, and of course some of the things that it doesn't have to offer, because it is so small and it is pretty detached from Indianapolis. It's a place where you can live kind of a lake life around Indianapolis and be in that small community. So know people who live here year-round, but I also know some people that have a home in Cicero, but they also have a home someplace else, near Indianapolis, near close to their job. A lot of people will have a vacation home or a lake home, and there are plenty of places around Indiana where you could actually do that, or if you get outside of Indiana. But all of those places are gonna be an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hour, 5 hour drive sometimes to get to it. So the people that live along Morse Reservoir as a vacation spot, it's just so much closer. If you live in Indianapolis and have to come up here to Cicero, you're talking less than an hour drive easily, and you're right at your vacation home. Now, not every single home in Cicero is on the water, but they've got, for a town of only a little over 4,000, there's over 600 homes that are either on the water or a portion of the water, or at least have access to it or views of the water. So for a place that's just over 4,000 people with that many homes that have some kind of relationship to Morse Reservoir and the water, that's really pretty cool. So downtown Cicero also is very small, very quaint, but also unique. Has a lot of history there. It is quite old. It's very established, but it's been renovated in different parts, and there are new restaurants going in there, new shops, and it's also very walkable. But again, not very big. It certainly is small. It's a place to go. You know, I've been up here in the evening along the water and had dinner. You could get ice cream on a nice night. It is gorgeous. It is absolutely beautiful. Plus, Cicero has a number of festivals throughout the year, and actually the waterway that you can see behind me, or the bridge going across Morse Reservoir, they'll close that down a couple times a year for a couple different types of festivals. They'll have fireworks here. There's also a triathlon that goes, in fact, behind me. The sun is in my eyes here a little bit, but there's a restaurant just across the reservoir here, and you swim from that little beach in the restaurant back over here to this park that I'm standing in right now, which is where the Cicero Marina is located. This is Red Bridge Park. And in fact, I've been to this place, gosh, years ago, when I used to ride bikes a lot with some different people and a good friend of mine. We would ride way out north of Noblesville to kind of get away from all of the traffic. And this would be one of our stops where we could refill our water bottles and have a little something to eat, and also go to the bathroom too. So right here in this park, right next to the marina. And in fact, this morning I saw some cyclists coming in here and kind of doing the exact same thing. Pretty cool, pretty convenient place to go. I also have a playground up here, so there's plenty of things to do, along with a public pool. So it might be a little bit difficult to find a place to jump into Morse Reservoir around here unless you're off of a jet ski or a boat, but they do have a public pool where you can get in some water. And in addition to riding bikes here to this Red Bridge Park, a friend of mine and I, we used to own kayaks years ago, and way south of here, that direction, I'm actually facing the south right now, we would drive to Morse Beach in Noblesville, put our kayaks in right there because they have docks where you could actually drop a kayak or a paddle board or something like that in very easily, or a canoe, any kind of small boat. And then we would paddle all the way up here to Cicero. And I don't know the exact mileage, but it's pretty close to 5 miles or so. We would come up here to Red Bridge Park and, of course, use the bathroom or refill our water bottles, something like that, or we would go over to the west of me into Cicero, grab something to eat, and then paddle our way back to Morse Beach. So it was a pretty good long paddle, 10 miles or so. But even this morning out here, I've seen a couple people in their kayaks out here doing that. I don't know if they've come that far, but they're at least paddling around this particular area. So it's one of the cool things that you can actually do in a place like Cicero. So when I say there are homes along the water in Morse Reservoir, or along Morse Reservoir, if you were to look at a place like Geist over in Fishers or Lawrence, which is just outside of Indianapolis, and you have a home on the water or one of the fingers coming off of Geist Reservoir, I mean, that's gonna be expensive. So if you're on the main body, you're talking $1 million easily. And the reason for that is because it's Fishers, it's Lawrence, it's close to Indianapolis, it's just close to everything that you could ever need or want for the most part. Noblesville is kind of the same thing. It's a little cheaper along Morse Reservoir on the main body, but if you're down deep in Noblesville, you're closer to everything, and so those homes are going to be in higher demand, and you can easily spend $1 million for a home on the water, but you can get it under $1 million. But if you come all the way up here to Cicero, the housing in Cicero is still relatively affordable. You can definitely find homes off of the water. So there's 600 or so that have some kind of direct relationship to this water, but when you get off of the water, you can find homes in Cicero under 200,000. And there's a little bit of new construction here. I wouldn't say it's tremendous like it is in some of the other suburbs of Indianapolis that are growing, because Cicero is growing, just not at a dramatic pace at all. It's quite slow. You can find older homes in Cicero too, some that are very old and are going to need a lot of work, but then you can also find some more recent homes, maybe built in the 90s, somewhere in there, so they might need a little bit of work, but we're not talking about 80 to 100 years old, something that's going to need probably some dramatic fixes or dramatic renovations. So relatively affordable, and then if you're right on the water, you can get homes that have water access, so they're on the water, maybe not on the main body, but in that $500,000 to $600,000 range, pretty close to that. That's not too bad, especially when you can have your boat dock right there, close to your house, where you can walk to it and access it. That is nice. Now, I wouldn't say properties like that hit the market often. You know, it's fairly rare because there aren't that many of them, but it's a good place to think about if you want that kind of life, a little more laid back, a little further away from everything, and you enjoy being along the water. Cicero is just a very, very cool place. Now the schools here, also a little bit north, Hamilton Heights School District, which is a very, very good school district, but it's out away from Noblesville and out away from all of the other suburbs that you're gonna find on the north side of Indianapolis. So certainly a unique place. So if you have questions about Cicero at all, then make sure that you reach out any way that you know how. And until the next one, we'll see you later.